right, so this go around, we'll be looking at a different country. Start expanding a little bit. I've got some I got some stuff that's lined up already, or stuff that needs to be edited. Like we're not going away from British stuff. Like we're just expanding a bit, right? Taking a look at some other countries. So this go around, be looking at 10 plus interesting facts about Poland. Hopefully, this is a good list because God, some of these can be just absolutely horrific. Well, that being said, let's get into it, shall we? Poland is not a very large country, but it's also not a small country.
Beauty, it comes to us when we least expect it, although it is all around us. And when it's there, it usually is followed by uncertainty, excitement, confusion, and hope. And in the world, there are many places that spark these moments within our emotions, making us bigger and better people, enjoying the moments we have with one another, or with the vast scenery around us. And here on FTD Facts, we are talking about one of the most beautiful countries in the entire world, and that is the country of Poland. Hey everybody, what's going on? Dave Wapple here, and today is pretty sweet because, last couple of weeks we've been talking about, places like Sweden, and I felt like today is a day where we got to talk about Poland because it seems to be a very cool place, and I know a few people from Poland who are absolutely amazing. Now, before I get in this video, I want to know from all you guys out there in the real world, I want to know, what do you guys cherish most? Be sure to let me know what is the most important thing to you. Put it down there so I can read it. Also, for those who have just joined us here for the first time, this is a channel where we talk about people, places, and things from all around the world, and with that, we want recommendations from you guys. And with that in mind, a lot of you guys, such as Avandis Dad Heej, Hazez Hala, Zua, Mercy, Forgive Jonathan Jesus, and many more of you guys wanted us to talk about Poland, and it is a really highly requested video. So let's get talking about Poland, guys. I'm excited to learn about it. Sweden was cool, all the other countries we've talked about, but here is Poland time. Poland is the Eastern European country that sits right beside the Baltic Sea. And as of 2010, it is a country that has over 38 million people stretched out over a landscape of 312,679 square kilometers. This makes the country have 123 people per square kilometer. Now, the one thing that I didn't know about Poland is that apparently if you call somebody a Polak, it's a really offensive term.
Say what? How do you not know that's you call someone a Polak? It's not in a good connotation. Normally, it's referencing that they're stupid. Like, how would you not like that? Thought that's kind of universally known. Like, what the?
I didn't really know that. I always thought it was kind of like just slang for being like, hey, you're a Polish person. But apparently it is a very derogative and negative offensive term towards Polish people. But if you want a short term for a Polish person, you either call them Polish or a Pole. Now, even though some Polish people may take offense to this word, the country is made up of great people.
I know how to pick them, don't I? I know how to take and find these lists and be like, oh, that's the worst one, probably. Let's pick it. Like, you already start off with,
Who strive for a better future. And Poland itself is a country that has a really extensive history, just like most of the countries that we do talk about. But with this history, it's got great moments and also really sad moments. For example, the people of Poland are really excited.
So a country does country stuff. Might want to take and work on the script a little bit. Just throwing that out there. Has some great moments. Has some really sad, every fucking country in the world has that. What?
To celebrate their independence. Now, this happened on November 11th, 1918, when they declared themselves their own republic from Russia. And throughout the Second World War, this day of independence was banned in 1939 because of German influence within the country. And even though the Germans got their butt kicked in World War II, their independence wasn't celebrated again until 1989 when the communist government was kicked out. Which is kind of fascinating to me because I didn't think that Poland was going to be communist after the war. And speaking of history, we'll dive.
Pick up a history book. They were one of the they were one of the nations that fell within the USSR. They were one of the I don't, again, And there's been some atrocities that have happened there too because of like did you just write this stuff down as you were learning it?
More into that into a future episode, but for now, let's just talk about some really cool facts about the country itself. For example, Poland has some many interesting features about the country. Many of you may picture Poland and see it as a lowlands or plains, and not very mountainous. But in fact, that's absolutely incorrect because, well, Poland, down to the southern regions, has a lot of mountains. These are the Carpathian and Sudet mountain ranges, and the two highest are the Tatras
Beautiful.
Mountains, and the tallest of the Tatras Mountains that's in Poland is the Rysy Mountain, coming in at 2,503 meters tall, or 8,212 feet. It is a great place to climb and hike, except for it is closed from November 1st to June 15th, which makes sense because of the winter seasons. Now let's step away from nature for just a sec and let's talk about Polish culture. First of all, the capital of Poland is Warsaw, and out of all the cities, it is the largest city with a population of 1.8 million people. It was founded in 1200 AD, with the St. John's Archcathedral Church in Warsaw being one of the oldest cathedrals in the city, and it is so old that it is considered a UNESCO site. And speaking of city ages, Gdansk has over 460,000 people, and it is one of, if not the oldest major city within Poland. Being founded in 997 AD by Mieszko I of Poland, who is the ruler of the Poles in 960.
So that's it goes back quite a that's so for 1,000 years. Like the fact that Warsaw was established in 1200, right? So that's even 300 years later after what he's just the city he was just talking about. The immense amount of history and just I'd love to see the changes in architecture too from the different time periods. Like it's that's the one thing about Europe as a whole is just the extensive history of the countries. Whether you take and go back to whenever it was a lot more tribal and you had a lot of, you had the different tribes that were taken and vying for power or, getting unified and becoming one as a whole. Like it's really, really interesting taking and diving a bit into because I'll be honest with you, I know more about a lot of there's a lot of stuff I took and studied dating, back to like the Middle Ages and a little bit before, but like it's more World War II and then post World War II as far as my knowledge of certain countries or parts of Europe itself. So going back 960, that's gee, Manetti.
And when we think of Poland, we might think of Polish beer or vodka or just having drinks in Poland for a good time. And not saying that the Poles are a bunch of
I love the fact that he used craft beer. I'm trying to remember the dude's name. It's like craft beer ale or craft beer reviewer or something like that. Well, I started doing beer reviews, and that's how I started on YouTube was beer reviews. Like I would take and watch his channel because especially if there's a US beer that's regional, because there's a lot of beers that we have here that are or a lot of the craft beer that we have here that's regional. Like you'd have to actually travel because they don't get distribution out of a 2 or 3 state area. Sometimes, like there's some that don't take and get distribution outside of their own like micro region within a state itself. So unless you're able to take and find somebody on a bottle swap website or something like that where you can actually like pay them money or take and trade beer from where you're at for some stuff they've got. Like I used to watch him because he does really good reviews and breakdowns on stuff. That's just a little nugget.
Just having drinks in Poland for a good time. And not saying that the Poles are a bunch of drunks, but like us Canadians, over here we do enjoy a good bevy. But as for alcohol, they estimate that a Polish person drinks 92 liters of beer a year. And for their drinking laws, you have to be over 18 years old to legally purchase alcohol, but keep in mind that's just purchase because I couldn't find anything that stated whether or not it was legal for people under the age of 18 to drink alcohol. But on top of that, if you drank in the streets of Poland or the parks of Poland, it would be considered illegal. Considering we're on the topic of drinking, we might as well talk about smoking, because smoking is banned in indoor restaurants, workplaces, indoor public places, and of course you have to be 18 years old to do that as well. And the one thing that smoking and drinking have in common is that they are related to the healthcare system. The healthcare system in Poland is free for everyone and is provided by the National Health Fund. However, if you want free healthcare, you have to be insured, and that's usually done by an employer. Now, there are also private healthcare systems where citizens have to pay full amounts, but as their constitution, it states that everyone is entitled to healthcare. And in 2013, a study found out that 61% of citizens have used private healthcare, as well as 91% of pregnant women. Now let's jump back to a little more culture, because one thing that's
So you have a right to health care, and they've got a health care, but you have to get that health care, like the government health care, I guess, through your employer. And apparently many also offer private health care. And 61%, so that makes me wonder, like, as far as like the care that's given through the actual, like, if you take and just use, instead of taking and using the government health care that's provided through your, offered through your employer, take and go through a private company or something like that. I wonder what the difference, if there's any difference in care or wait times or anything like that.
fascinating about Poland is that it has 14 UNESCO or UNESCO zones. Excluding the entire town of Warsaw, which is an entire site, the country has a range from cities to structures to churches.
Jesus, the entire city is UNESCO's. I mean, being established in 1200, that makes sense. It's quite a ways back.
To forests, and many of these places remind us of the great amazing story of the country. But unfortunately, one of these places has a story of darkness and regret. This is because one of the UNESCO zones within Poland is the Auschwitz concentration camp. Now, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I had totally forgotten that Auschwitz was in Poland. I always thought it was in Germany, but I guess I was wrong. During the Second World War,
There's, if I'm not mistaken, a few concentration camps, but Auschwitz is the most infamous and like one of the worst. So
there were 3 major concentration camps, Auschwitz 1, 2, and 3. As well, they had 45 other satellite camps around the area. And this was Germany's final solution to the Jew question, which resulted in the extermination of millions of Jewish people. As a matter of fact, these concentration camps were pretty much a prison for 1.3 million Jews. And throughout
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd love to take and go see Poland and much of Europe. I don't want like, I feel like that's one of those types of places you walk into and you immediately feel a heaviness just because of the history of what happened, right? It's one of those things to where the unimaginable cruelty that existed within the walls of those buildings and in the camp itself. There was numerous concentration camps scattered throughout Germany, and there's ones in Poland, and I believe there's one in, like, they had something like modern day Czechoslovakia or something like that. But Auschwitz is the one that you take and, like, that's the one that's highlighted whenever when a lot of folks talk about concentration camps because of the brutalities and just what happened. And it's one of those places where I get it. It's a historical site. Some atrocious things happen, but it's because of that. I don't know if I'd want to take and actually, because that's just such a heaviness and darkness that I don't know if I'd want that. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of the things I will say is I'm so glad that they did take and they've left it up as a reminder of, hey, this is the fucked up shit that happens whenever humans lose their humanity, especially towards a certain group of people. Like, that's, I think, the value in having it up and stuff like that. Me personally, though, I don't think I'd be able to take and visit someplace like that. It's just the heaviness from just walking in and seeing it firsthand. I don't think I'd be able to take that. That's just ooh. Just thinking about it, it just makes your skin it just makes your skin crawl. The the atrocities that happened in these places, especially Auschwitz. It's just I don't know.
The entire genocide of the Second World War, these particular concentration camps contributed to the deaths of 1.1 million Jewish people. And they believe that Auschwitz was responsible for killing 1 out of 6 Jews that were murdered throughout the entire Holocaust. But however, the Soviets managed to find Auschwitz and freed the people on January 7th, 1945, making it International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And you may wonder, why is this place a UNSCO zone if it's such a very dark spot in our history, one that we would probably rather forget? Well, in 1947, Poland founded the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum, and by 1979, the camp was inscribed because although there may have been terrible moments in history, it reminds us to move forward and never return to these terrible times. But today, Poland stands as a very interesting country, as they contribute to peacekeeping missions, joining NATO on March 12th of 1999. They've also joined in relief operations in Iraq and even Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. And throughout the years, Poland has been moving forward to recognize individual thought and progress. As in 1989, it held its first free elections in over 40 years, thus bringing in a non-communist government. As well as one thing that's really interesting about Poland is they have 17 Nobel Prize winners. Their first one was in 1903, which Maria Curie won.
That's insane. 17. Whoo, great goodness.
For physics, and on top of that, she even won a second time in 1911 for chemistry. And out of all these 17 Nobel Prizes, 4 of them are for peace. One thing that's really interesting about the Polish is that they have 32 letters in their alphabet. Although the alphabet is based off of a Latin alphabet, they have multiple accents and some letters that look like English ones, but actually sound very different. For example, W sounds more like a V. Have you ever heard of KGHM? Well, probably not if you're from another country, but one thing that's interesting about this Polish company is it is a copper and silver production company that employs 34,000 people around the world, and although it is owned by 32% of the government, it ranks as 10th in the world when it comes to providing copper for the entire planet. Either way, Poland remains a cool and interesting country to visit. There may be a lot of places to go, but let's not forget their food, which they're famous for pastries and pierogies, but there's also many historical buildings and amazing places to get in touch with nature, such as the Wrocław Zoo. It is also a place that is home to over 250 castles. That's a lot. And because of these amazing places, in 2013, they had over 15 million visitors come into the country. And as of today, Poland is the 17th most visited country in the entire world. So there you have it. That is a brief look at Poland. Most likely we'll get into a part 2, diving into more history and food and culture. Anyways, my name is Dave Wobble, and it has been a pleasure once again to talk about a new country. But before you guys go...
Bro, most of these types of things they've got numbers on things, and I mean, granted, we didn't have AI voice or nothing like that, so I'll give them that. But it seems like took and went through Google or something, Wikipedia, and as soon as he learned it, he scripted it. Which, again, I mean, it's better than some of the ones we've took and looked at before, but whew, great googly moogly. The whole thing with Auschwitz, I really like. I'd love to take and see much of Europe at some point in time in my life, but Auschwitz is one of those places. I think most concentration camps is one of those places that I probably won't ever have on a list of places I need to take. I want to go visit, and it's not. And it's simply due to the fact of the heaviness that you're going to take and feel from the impact and the weight of what happened. Um, it's just awful thinking about that, and what 6 million Jews, 13 million people total, including political opposition, gypsies. Um, Was it not Mormon? Yeah, what is it? Mormons? No, Jehovah Witnesses. Um, Catholics that took and put up a any kind of resistance. Although the Pope did take and kind of work with Hitler, the Vatican did there for a bit. Like it's just reading off the numbers is a stark enough reminder of like, bro, humans are capable of some gnarly, nasty, just awful stuff. I don't know. I don't. It's not the type of heaviness I want to be carrying around when I'm trying to take and go somewhere and see all the beautiful places, experience the culture. That's just that was that would kind of put a damper, at least on probably an entire day's worth of visit. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. Y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves. Peace.